Hey everyone, this is an episode I knew I had to do because I get so many people reaching out to me because I do, a couple of Vegas videos a week these days. They're talking to me about how I learn my market. I've never learned Vegas. It's not my intention to learn Vegas. But you know what? We have the man. We have Bryan Lebo here. So I'm going to ask him a bunch of questions to get it started. And then, of course, you can reach out to him if you want to learn Vegas, because again, he is a real estate agent broker, 30 years experience. And, thank you for doing this, Bryan.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on the show, and hopefully we can enlighten some people today.
Well, let's just hit it right up front because there are going to be a lot of people that want to call you. How should they reach out to you right now if they want to reach out and start making offers on rental properties?
Sure thing. Easiest thing to do is just text me 702-257-LEBO. 257-LEBO. Go to my website, thelebogroup.com. You can watch me on YouTube. Just type in the Lebo Group, where I do monthly updates, especially if you're new to investing in the Las Vegas area and want to get acclimated to what we have going on. These monthly update videos will probably be imperative for you to acclimate you to where our market is. I give you all the analytics, but then I also explain whether or not these numbers are actually indicative or if they're just empty calories, if you will. So that'll be a wealth of information for you if you're just starting to try to learn about the Las Vegas market.
Yeah. And again, a lot of you are talking to me about Vegas. A lot of you see opportunities coming. You better partner with someone like Bryan if you're going to go make that leap. So Bryan, why don't we first talk about areas, right? There are some areas, when you look at the Monopoly board that are like Park Place and Boardwalk, they're, Summerhill, maybe one of those, like it's too nice, right? It's too expensive. So why don't you talk about a couple of areas that might have affordable housing that might make a good first rental home? And again, let's stay with single family homes.
Sure. So the first thing when I'm discussing goals with an investor is, some people have short-term goals, some people have very long-term goals, and some people are weathered veterans. They're willing to roll up their sleeves and get dirty. And, if you're a doctor who doesn't have much time, you want a vehicle to invest in, but you really want to be hands off.
Yep.
So the truth of the matter is just like a home, I could care less what home my clients buy. I want them to make an informed decision, and I am here to educate them and then work on their behalf to execute and get them what they want. But I don't care what house you buy as long as you're happy with what you do. Investing is very similar. It shouldn't be emotional. It should be about dollars and cents, but not every investor has the exact same goals. So that's really important to identify at first. Now, in Las Vegas, similar to other areas, but again, Las Vegas is a very different place with a very different set of rules. Let's just say you have three kinds of asset classes. You have your blue chip, which are in the nicer areas of town. And then you have your middle of the road areas, which are still very safe. They're still very nice, but they're never going to be better than they are. That's where Vegas, we're coming out of an infantile stage, but we're still having some kind of growing pains where we're a very young city. So the way we operate is very different than mature cities. And then of course you have, your lower asset class, and you're going to find the highest cap rates in that lowest asset class. However, it's going to come with its own challenges, right? You're not necessarily going to want to show up and collect your rent. You're not going to be dealing with sophisticated tenants who are necessarily going to be paying you online. It's not going to be so streamlined. Yes, again, you can get a lot of cash. You can get wonderful cap rates, but your long-term is not going to be fantastic. And there's a lot of BS you got to deal with in the meantime. So personally, I'm not a big fan of the low-end instrument, just because most of the people that I work with and encounter don't want that element to deal with. And neither do I, to be perfectly frank. Most of what we operate with is going to be in the mid-range and in the nicer areas. And again, it's predicated on what your goals are as an investor.
Yeah.
So the sweet point is finding these niche areas in that mid-range where it's a safe area. It's a product that's in very high demand. Sometimes they're products that can't be replicated, frankly, ever again. And just getting the highest cap rate you can out of that vehicle.
Yeah. And that's really where we want to be, is in the mid-range, right? If you got to wear a bulletproof vest to go collect rents, not worth it. A lot of people that will be watching this will be investing from out of the area, right? So they're not going to fly in and do active management.
Exactly.
So, name drop a couple of places where, because again, these are probably going to be older homes, right? These were probably homes built in the 80s, like the 1980s, right? Or maybe
not necessarily.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, not necessarily. It's a little touchy to discuss good and bad areas because I can end up in tremendous trouble for
Okay.
scaring people.
Fair enough.
I, as a licensed realtor, have to be a little careful.
Okay.
That's something we can talk about privately.
Understood.
But when we are discussing, there are some properties that are built in the mid 80s. A lot of those areas are demographically changing.
Sure.
So there's challenges that come with that. So a lot of times in your areas that were built in like the early 80s that are demographically challenging, those are the kind of areas where the square footage and bedrooms are more important.
Yeah, for sure.
The home. So those are the kind of areas that you really want to convert a garage and then create 2 more bedrooms, because that's going to substantially increase the value of your rent.
Mm-hmm.
So very different challenges in different areas.
Okay.
What I'm discussing more is typically the 2 places that people look first when they're moving to Las Vegas. Typically the 2 most desirable, or should I say the most affluent areas, legally, that's correct. But the legally most affluent areas are Green Valley and Summerlin. Green Valley is a section in Henderson, and Summerlin is an enclave of Las Vegas. Those are typically heralded as the 2 nicest areas and therefore the wealthiest.
What's the entry price there?
The entry prices are going to be about $300,000 for a single family home.
Okay.
That's pretty realistic. Now, the virtue to some of this is that it's a product that will never be built again. Like in Summerlin, I own a few rental properties. And when I first started investing, I wanted what could never be replicated. So I was focusing on smaller 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. And that's wonderful because it's a product that builders haven't built in 15 years and likely will never build again. So
when you're saying that, tell them what's being built now.
Yeah. So the logic is quite simple. Years ago, land was cheap, so it was irrelevant. With the cost of land increasing and having these nicer master plan communities, those land costs have swollen tremendously. Now, it's no secret. If you build a 1,500 square foot home with a 2-car garage, that's 1,900 square feet of space essentially that you're operating with. Now, how much can you charge for a 1,500 square foot single story, which eats up the entire lot?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I've got 1,900 square feet of a footprint. I could just add a second story and easily add another 1,500 square feet. I could add 2 stories and shrink the footprint. So for affordable homes, they aren't really building single stories anymore because I might as well just either shrink the footprint and then build a 1,800 square foot 2-story home, or just go for it and make it a 2,800 square foot 2-story and get substantially more money. Got to remember, cost of the roof's the same, cost of the foundation's the same. Everything's the damn same. All I have to do is put a little bit more lumber, some carpet and some bathrooms. It's not expensive to build that second story. So those single story homes haven't been built in 15 years in these better areas. So that's one strategy.
Nice.
On the other hand, in the early 2010s, if we will, all these hedge funds came out and was buying thousands and thousands of homes. And that's precisely what they were focusing on. So there is a huge amount of 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. What I've had a lot of success with a lot of my investors is, when everyone's going this way, go that way a little bit. And so, and Vegas is also a very transient town. People come and people leave. People try to run away from things and realize that they just brought it with them. So for me, I elected to kind of get out of that game a little bit. And where I had tremendous success was renting to families. So the problem is you rent to some single person who just moved here from ex-USA. They might be here for 3 months and leave. They might fulfill the 1-year lease. They might be here for 2 years. Now, once you go to 4-bedroom rental properties, the situation changes substantially because now you can rent to a family with a couple of kids. Now, when you are renting to a family with children, the goal is to not continue to move. They want stability. Mm-hmm. And stability provides you as a landlord with a lot less pain in the ass, to be quite frank, because you want your tenant staying there as long as possible. Yeah. So again, like we're discussing, for every investor, there's going to be a different set of rules that are important to them, but there are a tremendous amount of opportunities for 4-bedroom homes. And like in Summerlin, where I specialize, there's a lot of 4-bedroom homes. There was one yesterday that I sent out to investors. 4-bedroom home, that's 2,500 square feet with a 3-car garage, a real 3-car garage. They don't really build that product anymore, like an inexpensive, 2,500 square foot home with a real 3-car garage. You have to get very high up in the price range, and it might be a 2 with a tandem.
Right.
So there are opportunities.
Well, you just mentioned a great thing. So again, you're always actively looking for product, and when you find something, you send it out to your investors. So again, how can people get on your list? How can they call you, tell you what they're looking for?
Reach out to me. Best thing, go to my website, thelebogroup.com. Just go to lebogroup.com. YouTube, you can catch me there. Best thing to do is simply just text me and say, hey, Bryan, I was watching you on YouTube. I'm kind of interested and I have some questions. I get these all the time. Best thing to do is just call me or text me. I love text because it's very easy to get right back to you. So 702-257-LEBO. 257-LEBO. Just shoot me a text and I'll get right back to you and we can discuss.
There you go, folks. Again, if you're following this channel, you're interested in Vegas, if I'm not clear already, you need to text Bryan. This is how you do it. This is how you learn the market. And again, he's already finding opportunities and sending them out to investors. You need to get on that list. All right, Bryan, thanks for these 3 topics, man. You enjoy the weekend.
My pleasure. Thank you guys all so much for watching the show. I appreciate it. Please check out my channel. And thank you again for having me on. I really appreciate it.
You got it, buddy.